Good morning, one and all, to the Sunday supplement. And the coffee tastes good today, doesn't it? What an excellent result. One of those days, I thought, when you really enjoy going to Meadow Lane. Of course, 90% of his winning, but I thought the atmosphere was fantastic. All the better for seeing a big away contingent. Oldham, a club like Notts that have been up and down. Here's a thought that I'm going to start off with today that might provoke a bit of debate. Um, Notts and Oldham have kind of played each other in the top flight of English football. They've played each other in non-league. When Notts played Oldham in 1991-92 season, I mentioned this on the vlog yesterday. Um, uh, Notts won 2-0, so that was the Warnock era, in the top division, just before the dawn of the Premier League. There were 7,800 fans there. We played them yesterday. League Two, Division 4, to the likes of me and others from the Jurassic era, over 11,000. And that tell you something about football's enduring popularity, the change in people's habits, more commitment, more people going to games. Less than 8,000 for the top flight of English football in 1981. And we're now in the fourth tier, getting the best part of 12,000. Quite incredible, really. Great, don't get me wrong. People often accuse football of charging too much and all those sorts of things. But I think if you look in terms of our most successful industries, if you want to call football an industry, football is probably the single best example of that in this country. Anyway, thoughts and discussion, excuse me, thoughts and discussion points today. Tyrese Hall found it hard to get into the team at the start from Tottenham, and any comparisons with George Abbott seemed pretty far removed. What do we think now? 4 goals in 4 games, all of them at Meadow Lane. Clearly he likes playing there. He's got an eye for goal, hasn't he, Tyrese? Finds the corners, doesn't he? The shots he hits always go into the side netting in the corner beyond the keeper. Lovely finish yesterday. We call him a finisher. Martin Patterson would describe him as a converter, I think is one of his phrases. Home form is critical, clearly. 13 points from 15 at Fortress Meadow Lane now. That's 4 wins and a draw in our last 5 matches. Losing at home to Salford seems a long while ago now, doesn't it? As I've mentioned, love the atmosphere. For me, bigger away following absolutely makes the occasion, and without getting on my soapbox and size of away following and capping it and affecting how we perform. Got gupped by Salford. What do they bring? 87 and a dog. Even Gary Neville couldn't be bothered to come. We play Oldham yesterday, 2,000. We win. Best performance of the season. So, thoughts on that. Alassane Jatta. We actually heard from him. He still speaks, didn't we? Adam Hassel spoke with him after the game. Lovely to hear him. Friends reunited. Alassane Jatta and the Cop again. Was an interesting interview. I did notice clearly enjoying life again. If a striker scores goals, he's happy. Not much else matters. When Adam did venture to ask about pre-season, and Alassane didn't use the phrase options, didn't he? Which I thought was interesting. There we go. Let's dive on the message boards. Your thoughts and views, as always, on this show on a Sunday. If you send me a message that's respectful and I can read it, it will be read out. So let's dive into the message boards. Leon Barber he wasn't up that early, was he? But he was around and filing on it, tapping on his keyboard at 9:33. It says here, really strong performance, good football, but didn't overplay in the wrong areas. Back 3, fantastic, as were Palmer and Robertson. He goes on to say, January will be crucial. Can we keep Iapenda and Hall? Will we actually strengthen properly? Will we sell key players? Yeah, there's some interesting points there, isn't there? You know, you'd want Jatta and Dennis for second half of the season, unquestionably. I think you'd want to whatever you do in the January transfer window, and I take on board Alex Reed's point at the fans forum last week, you want players that's going to make an instant impact. It worked for Doncaster going up last year, didn't it? You know, with Street from Lincoln. You want people that make an instant impact for the second half of the season. Knots and Bolts podcast. Jarvis still left out of the match day squad. Probably after that performance, he's not getting in anytime soon either. Phil Lafbury, morning, Phil. Listening in the car on my way to Heathrow. Great performance yesterday. 11,000 on the gate. A good day all round. It was an excellent day, wasn't it, Phil? I saw Phil after the game. Phil ferries the brothers around in his very nice limo. So I'm sure it was a pleasant drive back. Kay says, morning. Great result and performance yesterday. Rod McDonald has been superb in the middle. Matty Platt will struggle to get his place back. Bud Chatwin, morning. Never done a Sunday show before, but thought I'd give it a go. Welcome, Bud. Not sure whether you're normally in a place of worship on a Sunday morning, but anyway, good to have you on board in our Sunday flock. Brilliant result. But I was still a bit nervous after they scored until the subs came on. Pythagorean should have scored more. How many chances does Grant need? Would rather have Jarvis in for Grant on the bench. Greza Maxwell. Was Keller Roos at fault for the goal we conceded? Question mark. Positioning questionable. I think it was certainly a a very preventable and a very messy goal, Greza. I think there was, to an extent, a lack of communication between Cerula and Roos. Didn't look good, but I would say it was more a combination there rather than just being on one person. But Chatwin, if you heard the Notts commentary on Radio Nottingham, they said Keller needs to command the box more. Leon Barber, incredible shirt that is, Paul. Yeah, the blue one. So Jay Dalton made these retros. They're very, very good. I think they've all sold out. He might have one or two yellow ones left. But yeah, really good. Third shirt that Notts wore in the Cyril Wilkinson era. Black and white, which you can see behind me. Yellow second kit, and then we would wear blue as well. So I think we had a debate, didn't we, on Friday's show? And I'm trying to think who was very anti a third shirt. Can't remember who it was. But, you know, a third shirt is nothing new. So Notts had 3 different kits when they were playing in the top flight in the early 80s with Jimmy. This was the third shirt. Yeah, it's not a real, it's not one from the 80s. I wouldn't fit in it if it was. But mind you, nor did Brian Kilcline for that matter. But yeah, retro ones. So we're having a selection of these, including a Radi Green goalkeeper's jersey. And there'll be a raffle on the night for the big night with Radi Avramovic on Friday, October the 24th. I'll give it the gratuitous plug a bit later. Stephen Shepherd, fantastic team performance yesterday. Agrees Lindy Lou. The team were great. Andy Eason, morning campus. Might be a blessing having next Saturday off. The 2 J's, Jaden and Jody, appear to have injury concerns. Martin Patterson tidied up some of that in his post presser yesterday, Andy. Jody had been ill all week, had only trained once. Therefore, there were concerns about his fitness levels. He wanted to carry on in the second half. Martin ruled the roost, brought him off, felt that it wasn't quite fit enough to be able to do himself justice. I would expect he still will join up with Malta. Well, I'm pretty sure he will. They're playing in the Netherlands, aren't they? So I'm sure he'll want to be involved in that one. Luca, injured as a result of Tuesday night. So yeah, I actually think it's good. I mean, it's going to be quite weird to have 2 weeks. Is it 2 weeks? 2 weeks without a game. Quite bizarre, isn't it? Quite bizarre. Not too many other games that I've seen in League Two, if any, that are off. There's about 4 or 5 in Division One, but I think at the minute, I think we're the only one. I think it's by today you have to lodge the request to have a game postponed for 3 international call-ups. Morning all from NCFC World. Ian Baggett. Fantastic team performance. Clearly, the players are finding their identity and buying into what Martin Patterson wants, building momentum before and after the game, and lots to be positive about. Gosport Magpie on the South Coast. Morning. Going back to your point about attendances increasing in the EFL, we have to bear in mind the trickle down impact of the Premier League pricing, pricing out fans, and the unpredictability of the EFL. Yeah, no, I think it's a very valid point, Gospel. I still believe it's quite incredible that there are 4,000 more fans at Meadow Lane yesterday to watch Notts and Oldham at 4th tier clubs than there were when we were both in the top flight. I think there's also, I think, indicative. One of the big things I think personally was, clearly hooliganism, violence, not a safe place a lot of the time. Were games, some of the scariest moments of my life were spent following Notts in that first season back in the top flight. I promise you, petrifying. AD Clark, morning. Team is playing with confidence. It seems that, it's an interesting point. Seems that one striker suits the team better. And Martin did mention this. Indeed, he did. Yeah, I mean, there's a big clamour for 2 strikers, wasn't there? Big clamour. Then it's moved back to 1. I wonder if Martin will vary it depending on opposition, home against away. We'll talk a little bit later in the programme about the respective merits of Alassania and Matt. For me, I would still back, controversial, I would still back Alassania to finish top scorer at the end of the season. Give us your thoughts. Richard Hawksworth from Royal Marlow. Hall, just maybe a natural finisher. I think it's a very good point, Richard. He kind of strokes the ball into the net, into the corners, doesn't he? He often sort of wraps his foot around it, gets the bend just beyond the outstretched dive of the keeper, and right in nestling into those corners. I thought when he first arrived, I thought physicality is going to go against him in League Two. Is he ready? Is he ready to play? And I guess there's an element of that with Martin, because he didn't necessarily give him too many minutes in the opening games. But now he's unleashed him. His finishing in the box, I'd possibly say he's the most natural finisher we've got. Inside that box, 15 yards, he seems to have a remarkable accuracy and a high strike rate of hitting the back of the net, eluding the keeper, putting it in the corners. And if you are a midfielder, a 10, or whatever you want to call it in the modern parlance, if you're scoring goals and you're not an out-and-out striker, you are worth your weight in gold. But one thing I did notice was for Jatta I say Jatta's second goal. I've not seen it yet. Some people I know are trying to take it off him. But for the goal in the second half, they've got the ball. They're bringing the ball out down their right-hand side, i.e. in front of the Pavis towards the halfway line. And Tyrese Hall dives in, tackles, dispossesses, wins the ball, and slides the ball in for Jatta to run on and score. Now, I'm not sure that was in Tyrese Hall's locker when he first came to Notts. And I'm not sure he would have been doing too much of that for Tottenham under 21s or whatever it is in age group football. But I thought he did really well. And I'm sure that is something that Martin Patterson has drilled into him. If the highlights are somewhere, you watch it. He tackles, wins the ball, gets up, and then slides a perfect ball through for Jatta. Rosemary Mans, fantastic game. Loads of Oldham supporters, great forward play, brilliant defending. I really enjoyed it. NCFC World. It was nice to see the gaffer keeping to his word after the fans forum. Yes. A fan mentioned about the players not going to the family stand, and the team did that yesterday before moving to the Kop and the Derek Pavis. I noticed that as well, NCFC World. Thought it was very good. There is a certain amount of irony, and I don't wish to be controversial here. 95% of the family stand had already gone. They'd already left by the time Martin and the players walked over. So it's great if there's only one, he's done it, right? But I did think there was a certain irony that we win, and I appreciate it was a really terrible weather day. 95% of the family stand had already disappeared by the time Martin took the players over there. But Martin listens and does it. Gresham Maxwell, I have the blue one with the white pinstripes. Do you now, Gressa? In case people are thinking, what on earth are we going on about? Notts also had another third kit, blue kit. I think it was it 84 when we got relegated, which had a pinstripe on it. White pinstripe coming down here as well. So that's another one that Jay Dalton has brought out. Bud Chatwin, still my favourite away shirt was the tartan one. Yeah, I got a few of them. Yeah, they were. Was that a match winner shirt? I think we had a bit of a discussion, didn't we, about kits. For me, I think the Puma relationship's a little bit tired with Notts now. That, in my understanding, is that's why there's a long delay on the third kit coming out because of supply issues. Notts have had supply issues on several occasions with Puma now, and for me, it's just a little bit tired. I know Puma certainly make a bespoke home shirt, which is one of the reasons for going with them, but they do tend to have various other template shirts that you would see other clubs wearing as well. Yeah, I think Matchwinner used to have some really good kits, didn't they? Some really good kits. I thought, did we have Area as well, the Italian ones? I thought they were good. I thought they were good as well. But look, it's often the over 60s that have the most things to say about the kit, and they're the ones that never buy them. Fundamentally, a very high percentage of shirts are for the kids. So, let's see, what the younger people want. Derek Flowers, I'll own up, it was me. I'm against a third kit. But Derek, just remember, we had third kits in 1980 when you were still under 50. There you go. AD Clark, will you be putting all your shirts in the new museum? Look, I'm going to make some of them available to the club. Yeah. The Juventus one, that Vucinic wore for Juventus against Notts in that opener, which is very clearly a very, very rare shirt. And I've got some other Juventus memorabilia and PR stuff from that game. I suspect the club will want to do kind of like a little display of the Juventus game because it's clearly a hugely unique thing. So yeah, I should be making them available. And clearly, any and all they won't want. I've got about 200, but and there are people with far better shirt collections than me. Julian Morris has an excellent shirt collection. He will be bringing Raddy's match-worn shirt from the Chelsea game. He's going to reunite that shirt with Raddy at the Navy on Friday, October the 24th. Tickets are tenner. You know where to buy them, if not already. So there's some really good stuff out there. And to an extent, I think what the club will be looking for is quality pieces. When you think that each of these frames you see on the wall, you're talking 4 figures just for one. For those large display cases, so it's going to be a lot of money. But in answer to your question, Adi, look, these shirts should be able to be seen by Notts fans, young and old. It's part of our heritage and tradition. But Chatwin, I'm sure next Saturday Martin will get a ref in to play a full game. Yes, Martin has mentioned before that on a Tuesday normally they kind of play a no holds barred full contact game, and they get a full ref in and they treat it as a proper game rather than just having a training session. So I think that's good. We just need someone to sneak in and video it and then live stream it. We'll have to have a word. But NCFC World, I'm excited for this new third kit coming out. From the fans forum, the hints are retro, so I'm all up for that. Morning from Richard Elvin, Harvey E. Quite clear from the commentary yesterday that John Thompson was not impressed with the keeper. There was a delayed reaction dive a second or two after the ball had been headed his way. Give Griffiths a go. Look, everyone has a view. I understand that, Harvey. For me, Roos is a better bet than Griffiths, my personal view, having seen them both play. It was clear from the fans forum, we've got what we've got, and you do everything we can. Look, Keller is in possession of the number 1 shirt. I think he's going to be in possession of it for quite a while yet. Look, he himself would know there have been some errors. But look, get behind him. Look, as I said to you before, all his career he's punched the ball. You speak to anyone, previous clubs, Derby, all the rest of it. Roberto Gagliardi was principally behind his signature. He knew that. So you're not going to expect Keller to suddenly at 33 completely change the way he has kept goal, and he's going to punch. He's not going to catch. He's not, it's been his preferred approach to playing for, 99% of his career. He's 33 years old. That's what's going to happen. That is what's going to happen. Let's do our best to get behind him and help us get results. Stephen Shepherd, Bennett and Kuyar both looked good when they came on. I thought they did. Everyone played their part. Andy Eason, I think the green away shirt won't stand out so much when the lights are on at certain away grounds in the bleak midwinter. Something a little sharper colour-wise for the third shirt. Hang on, I'm having a slurp of coffee. I'm yagging at the minute. It's better. Not quite Costa, but it'll do. Right. Yeah. They always said for many years, didn't they, Andy? Never have a green shirt because you can't see the players. Who was it? It was Alex Ferguson, wasn't it? I'm going back 25 years. They played away under lights somewhere. Was it a grey shirt? I can't remember. They played in this shirt. Man U got beat, and Fergie clearly felt this shirt was an inappropriate colour. They never wore it again. I'm trying to think what it was. Was that a grey shirt? Is that the point you're making there, Andy? Under lights, bad weather, couldn't see each other. I'm sure someone will volunteer more on the message board. Kay, I find the situation with Traore very bizarre. He's really done nothing wrong since he arrived and is seemingly often injured. Richard Elvian, Griffiths looked good Tuesday, confident and self-assured. Richard Elvian, colour of third kit, and he's invested. He's got a blue. Sorry, colourblind. He's got a pink emoji. We wore pink, didn't we? 2013, 2014, I think. Andy Eason. Tyrese is growing in stature by the game. That finish yesterday was as precise and poised as they come. Greza Maxwell. I liked all of the Feeler branded shirts. Mitre were decent, said Kay. Forgot Mitre did them. Andy Eason. Maz. Maz Kuyar. An Enigma. His contribution was very eye-catching when he came on. NCFC World, regarding Jatta, the through and over balls to him to run on does get me off my seat. I like it when he pressed two yesterday. I always think NCFC World, Jatta is at his best. Well, like you've just said, when there's a ball slid through and he runs the channel between centre half and fullback, or goes down the middle between the centre halves. I think when he's got his back to goal on the halfway line, that for me is when he's at his least effective. When you see him turned and charging down on goal, then I think he scares defenders, and goalkeepers. Stephen Moore, Maz Kuyar needs an adapted Mo Salah chant with our Afghan king as opposed to Egyptian king. Greza Maxwell, I have a rare, nice Lee Hughes signed shirt for the museum. What you won, Greza, at the last Magpie Circle podcast show with Lee Hughes, when Lee brought along and donated for the raffle the shirt that he wore when he got a hat-trick on his debut in the first game under Munter when we beat Bradford. Yeah, so that's a very good shirt, Greza. That is a very good shirt. Derek Flowers, Martin prefers Ruse. Get used to him and get behind him. I agree, Derek. I agree. Pythagorean says grey shirt. I think that means with Man U. Knots and bolts. Dennis stopped Oldham getting a second goal heading off the line. Andrew Hartshaw says the Man U game was Southampton away and it was grey. Timothy Jays, Gosport Magpie, Andrew Hartshaw all nailed that one. Pieface 1862. Spot on, Paul. Comfortable win, and yet people still piling in on Ruse and Grant. Need to give them our support, not a barrage of criticism. Morning from Stephen Moore. Greza Maxwell, my youngest daughter Eva is 9, and she watched this with me. She says, Dad, has Paul stolen all your shirts? Both of us, Greza, and I know, pale alongside. There are certain shirt collectors with literally hundreds more shirts. Richard Elvian, Angus ? So at the fans forum, they said we're not signing anyone on a free agent, and I saw someone post something on social media saying that Angus MacDonald has signed for the Ballers League, that sort of indoor league thing. Unless it was a wind-up. Did anyone else see that yesterday? Bud Chatwin. Jatta is a bit like Chidozie in the way that he runs through balls and getting behind the defenders. Always play to people's strengths, but absolutely. Kay says the tartan shirt is Mitre. Yes, some good shirts. Right, I have caught up with all the messages. No, I haven't. Ian Baggett, the Green Admiral away shirt was also used by Leicester City. That's quite right. Yeah, there were the various templates down the years. But what was not a template and never a template was that black and white shirt. that Adidas did for us. I think the closest at the time, when we're all young and looking around, I think the closest at the time was St Mirren. St Mirren had quite a close, not dissimilar shirt, but that all-time shirt. One of our match winner shirts was used by another Scottish side, says Ian Baggett. Could have been St Mirren. Dunfermline, maybe. Where's Paul Batchford and the Linlithgow crew? We've got quite a few Notts exiles in Scotland, I'm sure they will. Jock Pie, I'm sure they will be able to tell us on that. Let's divert then back to football on the pitch at the moment. I thought it was great to see Jatta talking, because we've not heard from him since he signed a contract. Most bizarre. For me, I think Jatta scores more goals than Dennis this season. What are your thoughts? What are your views? The caveat to that, of course, is that's based on both players still being here at the end of the season, which, given sometimes that we are partial to selling players when we least expect them, it will be interesting to see what happens on the transfer window. Do you play them both together? Do you rotate them a little bit? Listening to Alessandro in the interview afterwards, I think he used the phrase the two of them playing together would cause chaos. Of course, if you play them both, how are you going to juggle your midfield? Tyrese Hall is certainly scoring a lot of goals, but I think offensively at the minute, I think we look decent. Home form is critical for me. You win your home games, you can afford those crew defeats. You don't want them, but if you're picking points up pretty regularly at home, you're not going to be too far away from playoffs. Hang on, but Jackman's coming in. I don't mind who scores the most. I just want to see more free kicks scored. I can't remember the last one. Oh, and more defenders scoring as well. I think at the minute it's not the goals scored collectively, is it? That is the challenge for us. I guess it's maybe just keeping a few more clean sheets. Richard Elvin, I think both would have been on if we'd been losing. AJ said Dennis' injury was hamstring, not calf related. Yes, he did. So I think Martin has been a tad cryptic. Cryptic's probably an unfair word about Matt Dennis. So it's unquestionable that Martin has worked the players much, much harder. And I personally think that, he's played the game. He's got a vast bank of professional football knowledge. He knows players and the fitness levels they need to be from his own experience, rather than necessarily be dictated to by sports science people. We all think back, and it did, unfortunately, Stuart no favours at all when he said we had to bring players off in that FA Cup tie at Peterborough when we were losing, because we had a midweek game at Walsall. And of course, then we lost the game at Walsall. So clearly that whole managing minutes failed. And I say failed in the sense that we didn't get results. I think Martin he mentioned the fitness again in his presser after the game yesterday. Spoke a lot about we're not fully there yet with fitness, and in the next 2 weeks they're going to be run. He's going to focus on fitness levels and further getting them up. And I think the intimation with Matt is that he wants him fitter, wants him stronger. And from what Alessandro was saying, he said he got a problem with hamstrings. So I think joining the dots up there, probably Matt isn't quite at the optimum level of fitness that Martin wants him to be at. And as such, is going to push him really hard. And when Martin feels that a professional footballer is match fit, you get the minutes and he'll play you. And I think Scott Robertson is an interesting um, testimony in point, because since he's come back, he's played 90 minutes. 90 minutes at Crewe. Was he 90 yesterday? He played a bit against Barnsley. And so this is not someone who, having been out a long time, he's played 40 minutes, 50 minutes, 60 minutes. When he's decided he's ready, he's put him in and he's played him, and he's played a lot of minutes in a short space of time. He's not broken down, and that to me is kind of what I would call subject knowledge. Martin being an ex-player himself, Martin having played 400 games, Martin understanding the mentality and the psyche of a professional footballer. He's been one. He knows what it's about. He knows the levels you need to be at, recoveries and all of those. And I think that's one of the really big things that's a plus with Martin having come on board as head coach, because for me, we are far less reliant on data. We're far less reliant on sports science, if you like, almost ruling the roost. Martin's a football man. He knows his onions, and he's going to call the shots, and he will live and die by his decisions. And I think when he talks about culture a lot, I think that's what a lot of it is about. Well done, well done. But Chatwin, Martin said Jones wanted to stay on. That's right, but he brought him off because he was lagging a bit after an illness this week. See, sports science doesn't work like a good coach who played the game. I think you've paraphrased kind of what I was saying. Andy Eason, with Stell on his jollies and no game next week, will Paul be taking a sojourn tomorrow evening? Can't make my mind up. Probably give it a break. There's talk I can get Neil Bishop on. I'm umming and ahhing at the minute. Tell me whether you want to have a show tomorrow or whether we leave it. In which case we would next be back a week on Monday. Lippy Jane, always need a rest too, which he didn't give the impression he was going to let the players do over the next few weeks. Yeah, I think Lippy. I think Martin was very, very disappointed with fitness levels and intensity. Or let me put it this way. I don't think he thought this squad was anywhere near where they needed to be for what he wants them to do. Let's put it like that. And I'd agree with him. I would agree with him. He's working them. He's working them really, really hard. And when you have games like yesterday, you kind of see the benefits of it, don't you? We played lovely football. We won a lot of games previously. Even then, there was an element of our fan base that didn't necessarily like that football in the sense that it was quite a slow tempo, kind of a Manchester City of League Two. We now play a system that's far more akin to most of the teams that have got promotion out of League Two in recent seasons. PJ Defiance, morning. Sorry I'm late. Been for an X-ray. Hope we are all okay. I hope you are okay too, as well, PJ. Derek Flowers, is the postponed game and I think he means a hindrance. We could lose momentum, but it also gives players time to get over little niggles and Martin an extra week to work with players on tactics, etc. I don't think it's a bad thing. Martin seems to think it's a good thing as well. He wasn't kind of bemoaning. We want to play every week at the minute. I think he's probably 60% towards where he wants to be with this group of players. And I think the next 2 weeks gives him an opportunity to get more of his philosophy, culture, whatever you want to call it, and fitness into the players. Gosport Magpie. I would prefer Dennis in front of Jatta. Pace in front of power. Yesterday, despite scoring twice, remember how difficult it was for Jatta to win anything aerially until Daniels went off. PJ defines, could you not have Bishop and Stell on together or in a few weeks' time? Or doesn't the Magpie Circle's budget stretch for that? Yeah, one, the budget don't stretch. Two, Bish, I love Bish. He's an hard man to tie down, I'm telling you. It's very hard to get him to commit to doing anything on a specific moment in time. Could you get John Thompson on? He speaks very well. Okay, yeah, no, John, good guy. They're all on the list. Can't believe you're pieing Snell. He's not here for a week, and it's like he's already out of everybody's minds. Pythagorean. I like how we are playing through the middle, then out to the wings in the final third. Greza. Pato has transformed the form of Robbo and Palmer this season, two of the vital cogs in the spine of our team. Richard Elvian. On average, do we do better under the lights at away games? I'm sure some content creator will have the statistical breakdown of that. Robbo is a warhorse, says Andy Eason. Keep him lubricated and fluid with minutes on the field. Thought his tripe, thought his slide tackle towards the end highlights his solidity. Suspect Stuart Maynard wouldn't have limited him. Andrew Rayson, but I'm pretty sure that both El Joffrey and Platt have already scored this season, not to forget Nick Cerula. So don't complain, as their actual job is to defend. Rosemary Man's squad definitely fitter. We ran out of puff in the playoffs, and it's why, or certainly one of the reasons that we lost now. It's great to see how they are now playing and reading each other and playing as a team. Who's Stell? Laughs Stephen Shepherd. Get Martin on tomorrow. I think he might be having a break, Greza. Asking the impossible, Pythagorean says. An evening with Benji. Tristan Benjamin. Yeah, Tristan, quality player back in the day, but a very private man. A very private man. Worked on the buses, Nottingham City Transport, for many years. Takes all sorts. And Tris was a quiet man, doesn't really get off on talking about his football career. Driving the buses. I think he's relatively recently retired now. Atmosphere yesterday. Atmosphere. I thought it was a great atmosphere. Really enjoyed it. And in a way, the wind and the bit of rain, that all for me added to the occasion. Proper game of football, proper game. I'm not necessarily sure our football is ideally suited to 90-degree heat in August. It slows tempo down, obviously. Pitch is rock hard, those sorts of things. I like that, those conditions on Saturday. While it makes it difficult, I think it makes for more entertainment. Yes, there'll be a few more errors. But I thought it was a great occasion, and what is easy to forget, our home form in the last 3 months of last season was an absolute disgrace. People forget that. Beat MK Dons, yeah, great, played well. I think we lost 5 of our last 7 games at home, and clearly we were not functioning well at home at all. If you remember back, slow build up, 86% possession, opposition scores on a break from a set piece. And that was kind of the story of our home form. And I think also, I was thinking about this, end of last season, I think 95% of our entire fan base had given up before we played Wimbledon. It was a low crowd on a Saturday night. I think that we'd largely given up. We just didn't think there was a prayer as so it proved, that we were going to beat Wimbledon. We were very flat. And I think with home form in recent games, there's I think there's much more of a feel-good factor starting to come in. Now, clearly, at the minute, we're still outside the playoffs, so that ain't good enough. You've got to judge. You've got to judges this year for me on pushing autos, which I think is a big ask, if I'm honest, at the minute. Even with the way we're currently playing, but I think Pato is kind of making the right steps and doing the best that he can with the players that he's got. Thoughts? Fraser Dodds. When was the last time we saw Palmer subbed off? Great performance. He deserved his standing ovation. Rosemary Mans. Yes, the atmosphere was great. A proper autumnal game. Had to wear my Notts County bobble hat, says Rosemary. Very good. I'm sure you look very fetching in it. Andy Easom. As you may not be on tomorrow, can we have a clue to who ex-Raddy teammates may be? Well, okay. So at the minute, we have got Raddy, obviously. He's making a family occasion of it. His wife, Bratislava, is coming over. His son, Raddy's son, is also flying in from Portugal to be there. So, Raddy's taking this very seriously. It will be a very emotional, possibly final return to Nottingham for him and his family. And that's why I expect the Magpie Circle family and flock to be out in full force. So I'm expecting more tickets to be sold as a result of this appeal. So Trevor Christie is coming. Another name for you, Paul Hooks. Hooksy, scorer, as he tells me, of Notts County's, I wouldn't disagree, second greatest goal scored ever. We all know the greatest goal ever was Gordon Mayer, Ipswich, which Raddy started off throwing the ball out, 10-11 passes, all first time. None of this 46 passes in our own half for half an hour, building up our possession stats. So that's Gordon, obviously the greatest ever goal. And the Doncaster goal that Pythagorean was trying to claim in a rare moment of mental madness, that don't make the top 100 as far as I'm concerned, because it's in the 4th tier of English football. Let's not forget that. So the second greatest goal in Notts County's history, scored by Paul Hooks. So Hooksy will be there. We've got the video of it. He'll be chatting to us about that. That second greatest goal ever is, come on, flock. I'm waiting. I'm still waiting. Okay, I'll read some of the other stuff out. Right. Greza Maxwell, get those two chaps on tomorrow who you had on when they did your pre-season. They're both coming, Greza, so you can have a chat with them. Eltel and Kim have got their tickets. Okay, so they will be there, so you can have a chat with them. Rosemary Mrans, yes, we had given up because the squad wasn't fit in the playoffs last season. Everything ground to a halt. Derek Flowers, shout out to the groundsman as the pitch is in a better condition than a few weeks ago. Yeah, I mean, Martin had mentioned that. And I noticed literally while the players were still on the pitch before they got to the family stand, who'd all bogged off. The guys got the mowers out and had started mowing the pitch. Rosemary Rans, yes, a big hand for the groundsman. They are amazing. Derek Flowers, is Raddy having a tour of the ground to see how it's changed? Yes, he is. Yes, he is. I'm taking him around on Friday afternoon. Pieface, yes, he's got it. On the Run versus Forest. That's the Notts County's greatest ever. Second greatest ever goal. If you remember the game, the 3-2 victory, we were breaking down towards the family stand and ball whipped in from the far left flank all the way across to just outside the box on the volley on the full. Hooksy left foot volleys, bottom corner of the net. Cue delirium that day. What a day that was. Paul Barnes there, says Richard Elvian. Well, Paul is dad of Harvey Barnes at Newcastle. No, Paul came, he might have been a very, very young kid, but he wasn't involved in the squad at that time. Stephen Moore, Hooksy goal at home v Spurs. No, Forest. Stephen Moore, or was it Forest? Correct. Gressa Maxwell, Raddy, guest of honour at the match day. Yes, so Raddy's making a full weekend of this. Our gig, where he wants to see as many of you as possible. He's got his whole family coming, and then we'll be at the game on Saturday. It's Cambridge United. Paul Mundell, the volley versus Forest in the 3-2 win. Spot on, Paul. Greza Maxwell, Charlie Palmer against Forest is his claim for the second greatest goal ever. Andy Easom thought the ref was decent yesterday. Was that the first time we've been penalised for the 8-second keeper ruling? I think he's been done once before for it, hasn't he? Not 100% sure. Don O'Riordan, FA Cup Spurs goal 91. Yeah. I'm kind of putting it into the context of back in the top flight, Forest, just kind of the emotionalness of the occasion. Andy Easom, is Hooksy a bus driver, aka Benji? Not that I'm aware of. If he was, he's kept it quiet. He's never mentioned it to me. How many seasons did Raddy play for Nott, says Kay? He was there about 5 seasons, I think, in total. Got us promoted, I think, in his second season. And was, he was only there 2 years, wasn't he? He left, and then we got relegated the following season. So it would have been probably 4 to 5 seasons. Did about 170 games for us. Ever present in when we got promoted back in, when we were in the top flight for the first time, he was ever present. I think he was the only one. Not sure if Killer did all the games in that one or not. Right. Okay. Second time he got we've been done for that rule, says Andrew Rayson. First time was the first home game at Salford. Yeah, I thought that we'd been done for it at least once before. Okay, right. I think we'll come to the end of the show. We'll probably give it a rest tomorrow. So which means we will be back on a week Monday. So we're all having an international break. Internationally, I'll get about as far as the edges of Gedling, I suppose. But enjoy the break. Thank you, as always, to our official partners, JH Accountants, Big Shed at the Trent Navigation. Those of you who, so just to recap, no game next weekend. No game. The match has been postponed because of 3 international call-ups. I'm not even sure I've not named the 3 yet. Jatta is not one of them, because I thought actually we would be playing, but Jatta's not been called in by Gambia, so I may have missed it. But the 3 international call-ups, as I understand it, are Jody Jones for the Netherlands, Kuyar for Afghanistan, and Tyrese Hall for Jamaica under 21s. So, reminder then, for the flock, those of you who've not got your tickets yet, Friday, October the 24th in the evening, starting at doors open at 6, Raddy on stage at 7. We'll be done for 9, half 9. It's not a late night for people. And Raddy will then be the guest of honour for Notts' home game the following day at home to Cambridge United. So I'm just looking. Pythagorean is claiming that Hooksy worked on the Cotgrave bus. I'm not. Does he? When I speak to him tomorrow, I'll ask him. Andrew Rayson says multiple. Yeah, he plays for Malta, but they're playing. So if I didn't make that clear, he plays for Malta, but Malta are playing the Netherlands, which clearly is a game you want to play in, isn't it? Andy Esom, another second ever greatest goal. John Chidozi's goal versus Spurs. Alan Parry commentary. Can he find a way through? Yeah. Maybe because I was 18, 19 or whatever, but the game against Forest 3-2. Trevor Christie scored. Trevor will be there as well. Ian McCulloch is another name, not 100% confirmed yet. He's moved back up to Scotland, so he's hoping to come down on that Friday night. So there's going to be plenty there. The flock, I expect plenty of you there. Lots of you already bought tickets. There are tickets still available. I can monitor who's bought them. I've got all the names. I didn't think Jez Donovan had got one. So I buttonholed him yesterday, but he has. His mate had bought him his ticket. So get yourselves sorted for what will be a great night. Enjoy the next 2 weeks. It's we don't necessarily win emphatically at home too often. Hopefully, it will be the first of many. John Chidozi's goal versus Middlesbrough in the FA Cup. Andy Esom. Yeah, that was a quality goal, wasn't it? I always remember that game. Middlesbrough brought about 5,000. And about 4,800 of them were watching the game from that floodlight pylon. Do you remember? They all climbed up the floodlight pylon. And there must have been 50 or 100 Middlesbrough fans all up the floodlight pylon watching the game. The police clearly did not want to shin up after them, so waited at the bottom. Chidozi scored the winner. And so then I'm told by various police officers they're waiting at the end of the game. And of course, there's nowhere where the Middlesbrough fans can go, can there? Is there other than shin back down the steps to the floodlight pylon where the police are waiting for them, and they've just seen their team get beat. But yeah, that would be my abiding memory of that game. The number of Middlesbrough fans who were literally and if you're of a younger age, you think health and safety, you're joking, aren't you? But no, they all climbed up, and some going right up to the top where the floodlights were, and they watched the game from the floodlight pylon. Yeah. If it had been as windy as yesterday, I'm not so sure they would have done. But anyway, thank you, one and all, for listening and watching today. We'll be back a week on Monday. Enjoy your break. Get your Adi Avramovich tickets. Swindon tickets for those of you who've already bought them. If you can't make the return game or the rearranged game, which no doubt will be midweek, you can get a refund on that. Look forward to speaking to everyone soon. Take care. Have a nice break. Cheers for now. Bye-bye.